picked on for playing football with boys. Now, Darcy will lead out England. Sounds like the mother wanted a boy. Darcy. Darcy. Thought that was more of a guy's name, boy's name. Anyway, this is a story here about a girl. There she is with this geezer here. I think he played for some Manchester United England team or whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna put you on notice, people. I can't stand football. I don't like football. I don't like the culture of football. But it is what it is. It is a game that I grew up with when I was a very young boy in the 70s. In the 70s, I was a football fan. I was 8, 9 years old. Then I discovered, I was it Arsenal? Yeah, Charlie George and people like that. And I was a real football nut when I was a boy, because that was the only thing I knew. I was a boy, grew up in Brixton back in the 70s, moved around the UK with my parents. Then one day I was watching World of Sport, which was a very, very, very popular. It was a sports channel. It was the early sports channel. The BBC had Grandstand. Both these have now demised, which is a real great shame. But anyway, so World of Sports tried to do opposite to what the BBC was doing. BBC used to show rugby on the Sunday. Football was wall-to-wall football on a Saturday, literally from 12 right till 4 o'clock. The big matches, the two matches that were playing, they would be showing on the BBC. FA Cup. I watched all that kind of World Cup. I used to watch it back in the day. Then one day, I was about 9, and being a working class lad, my mother, we only had the two channels, BBC One and ITV, back in those days. My mother eventually one day, as a nice surprise, because she used to rent the TV, got another TV. I think she bought it actually rather than rent it. And it had the new BBC Two, and it was colour, which is extraordinary. I mean, back in the it was colour, or was it the BBC? Anyway, it was BBC Two. I don't know whether it was at the same time as when colour came out, but the most important thing was for me was BBC Two. There's a third channel because the other TV couldn't get BBC Two, so it was just ITV and the BBC. So we had ITV and the BBC, so we had to get a new, and she got a new TV, and it had all three channels. Wonderful. So anyway, so ITV always tried to do the opposite to what the BBC. It used to have wrestling on, and it used to have Speedway, which was great. It's a real shame they don't show much Speedway these days. Speedway became very, very popular when it was shown on ITV. And then one day I was, watching it, and American football came up. I was what, 8, 9, and I thought, my God, what's this game? It was unbelievable to me. The colours, even though they were, if you look at it now, they look in comparison to what they're wearing today. It's not much difference, but if you looked at the old football teams of old, the colour scheme was really, really plain. Arsenal was red and white, the white short sleeves and the red front. Newcastle, the same thing. It was, I think, the stripes going horizontally, so vertically again. Leeds United, pure white from head to toe. So they weren't particularly colourful. American football, suddenly you were seeing it was just a splash of colour, which was like, wow. And I saw what is now seen as racist, the Redskins. He had the helmet, and which had a redskin, the redskin chief on the side, and it was like, it was just, you know, it just blew me away as an 8, 9-year-old. I thought, wow, what's this game? I've never seen it before. And it was the crashing in each other, the tackling that they were showing of the game. And I just said to myself, I want to play that game. And so, as a young guy, I was trying to. I mean, I didn't go out looking for clubs like you did today, but I think I remember asking my teacher, I wanted to play this game. And no, we could only do rounders here and football and a little bit of cricket. We did have little cricket stumps that were printed on the wall, which I used to sort of play with the other kids. That was great. But rugby, nah, wasn't a sport that anybody thought about. I never thought about it. It was just football, and more football. Then I moved to out of London and went and stayed with a family in Kent that had, sorry, they had a garden, sorry, but that didn't get me into the game of rugby. I remember I had this American football still in my head. It was buzzing around. And then I went to a school in south of England, and I was the only second black boy in that school. Sorry, it was a primary school, and one of the kids that was there was a young lad that had just arrived from Canada, and I'd heard him in the playground, and I said, "Oh, you're American, yeah?" And he said, "No, I'm not American. I'm Canadian." I don't know if he said it in that way, but he just said he was Canadian. And I said, "Oh, wow! I thought you were American." Because there's a game that plays with a funny shaped ball that I want to play. And he goes, "Yeah," he says, "that's American football." So, "Oh, you know about it?" He says, "Of course." I said, "I've got one." I said, "Really? Would you be able to bring it to school?" So he brought it to school, and we all the kids and the girls, funny enough, although we were crashing into each other. The boys were, the girls weren't. I mean, they were hovering around, and we'd pass it to them, and they would run, and no one would really tackle them because they just didn't want to. The boys didn't. But when the guys got it, they smashed into each other. This is what boys do. Really, really tackled, and he told us the game, how it was played, and how we played it, and throwing of the ball. It was just fantastic. There was a 9-year-old. I wanted to play this game all the time. Then we eventually moved. The family moved to the north of England, Sheffield, and then I had moved, left England, and then came back after a year. So I was 9, 10 odd, 10 and a half. I can't remember. Early 70s. So I then went to a school which was an ex-public boys' school, I believe. Then went co-ed, and then introduced girls. So it's been I think, a public school nearly early 18th century, 19th century, and then it changed to co-ed, and then comprehensive. It was a comprehensive school, but it had the traditions of the um, boys' school, grammar school sort of setup, and some very intelligent people went to that, especially the guys. There were some really intelligent young guys in that school. And anyway, one of the things that they played there, amongst other things, they had a massive field, massive field, and everything was played there. Cricket, um, athletics, everything of athletics. You could javelin, shot put, disc, hammer. They had a hammer cage. You name it. There was virtually all the hurdles. We did hurdling. There was a track there, 100-meter track. Everything was there. It was a massive field. And then you had your ubiquitous football field. And there, for the first time, I believe, I saw a rugby pitch. Didn't know anything about rugby. Never seen rugby. So when we started learning about the game and how to scrummage, I was putting as number 7. It was like, I thought, wow, I thought this game's fantastic. And then I started to see the difference between rugby and American football. It took me a number of years to realise that American football is a derivative of rugby. It came out of rugby. It's just the Americans altered it to protect themselves because it was a bit too harsh for them. So they put some helmets on, some padding on. Whereas rugby generally still played without all that nonsense. So, for years and years, I'd always berated American football. It wasn't a horrible way. It was just, it is played with protection, heavy protection. But rugby's played with very little. The guys who do wear protection on the headgear is a little bit of protection. It's there. It gives a certain amount of protection for the head. But yeah, I played rugby. But there was a time when I learnt to play the game, and then again, being a black boy in England in the 70s, playing other teams, I eventually got into playing for Sheffield Boys. Went for a trial that my coach had put me through. There was only 2 of us. Was it 2 or 3? 2 or 3 of the lads out of the team. I was picked. His son was exceptional anyway because he taught him. He was a scrum half, and one of the other boys. And to my amazement, I got into the team, into the Sheffield Boys 18. Couldn't believe it. So anyway, but unfortunately, I didn't last long. I think it was just about 6 games. My aunt, because rugby is generally, I think, was generally played on the Sunday. We played on the Sunday. My aunt was very religious and didn't like me playing, and wanted me to go to church rather than playing rugby. So it is what it is, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go any further. But that's it. That's life. What can you do? She had good intentions. She did, I harboured a bit of bitterness over the years, but I've come to, she had my interests at heart because she looked after us, me and my brother. She fed and clothed us. So yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, so that's my sort of little thing about how I got to playing rugby and how I enjoy it. And the amount of rugby has so much honour as well. But there were times when I didn't get my hands. They didn't shake my hand. Guy would just walk past, go to the other guy, shake his hand. Fine. Do you want to shake my hand? It's not a problem. It's not a given. But at the end of the match, you generally, it was actually, to be honest with you, a tunnel was made and everybody clapped. And if you were the home team, you made the tunnel, and these teams, the guys would walk through, and then you would put your hand out to shake, and if they didn't, they didn't. What does that mean? Should that mean that I should cry home? Oh, he didn't shake my hand, racist, or this? Who cares? It didn't matter. If we won, it was sweeter. If we lost, it was bitter. But it is what it is. Because this girl is pissed that the parent, well, it's the parent, the mother is really the one that's pissed that the parents have said, oh, some very little cruel things, and that the boys from the opposing team refuse to shake her hand. Why should they? They don't have to. They don't have to. It is what it is. Boys are boys. And you're talking about 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. I've seen the way some of these kids behave. When you see them playing football, boys, they're very rough and rambunctious. It's the way it is. This girl doesn't look like she's rough and rambunctious. Yeah, over a period of time, she may become, if she's playing football, stronger, and tougher. I don't know. But the point is, it is really unfair to put this tweet out, because I'll tell you this, you know what's going to happen? Those boys are going to be hunted down. I wouldn't be surprised. When was this? This is yesterday. This was done. Yep. So there's probably going to be, or maybe they're already trying their best now to find which team that she's played and which team of those boys did not shake her hand. Holy sweet Christmas. So these boys could be shamed. They could be brought out onto the front page. These are the boys that didn't shake this girl's hand. What will that do to these boys? To their self-confidence? It doesn't matter. Irrelevant. You dare not touch a female's hand. So you need to be called out. Their parents have made comments because they believe that that little girl should be playing with other girls of her own age in football. But they will be looking at this is another example of political correctness, where males now are being forced to open their doors completely to women without any real effort from their part. I mean, look at the F1 have now said they're going to do from 2019. They're going to have a sort of like I suppose a Grand Prix for women. 20 women will be racing, or they'll be looking to gather women who want to race on the racetracks, and so they'll have their own separate Grand Prix. And what do we have? The ubiquitous bitching. There's a woman in there who is in indie sports. Why are we segregating women from F1? I mean, it is what it is. They've said, let's do this slowly. Let's bring this in. Let's build this. Get a set of women into the game. No, there's bitching. They didn't. You see, the thing is, they didn't try and do it themselves. These women, they didn't say, "Oh, let's go and get some sponsors. Go and speak to some rich women across the world who've got money. Who are these women in America, in Australia, New Zealand? These women have got cash. Let's do a conference and say, ladies, we want to garner, get some money to build either our own racetrack that will be classed the women's F1, Formula One, or women's Grand Prix, and we'll have a track where and we'll get a number of sponsors who will be willing to sponsor a team so that they can afford to be able to, buy cars, develop the cars over time. Why not? No. As I've seen before on the BBC, there's a guy, Italian professor, is going to be hounded out of CERN, CERN, the people who found the so-called Higgs boson. He's going to be hounded out because he made a comment that, oh, Jesus, what did he say? Oh, that men built physics. It was men who built physics, which is correct. And there's a women have said, oh, we want to be part of the club too. That's what it's about. If you what is seen as excluding, they get bitchy. Rather than going out of your way and say, all right, you know what, we'll set up our own club. Look at the Women's Union, Women's Institute, Women's Union. It's been going for, is it 100 years? Or 80 years? It's been going a long time. Can I join the Women's Union? I don't think so. Have any men attempted to join the Women's Union? I don't think so. But no. All they do, women do, is bitch. Look at in Scotland. A private club that is one of the first clubs, I think, in Scotland that was been, I think it's 150 years, maybe older, I'm not sure. They voted not, they had a vote and it had to get to a certain level of votage, and they voted not to have women in the club again. But no, the SNP, whatever it is, her, I can't remember her name, the leader of that started bitching and basically making threats. It seemed that if they didn't overturn this, there'll be a problem for them. It's extraordinary. People don't realize what goes on. If you don't open up to women equally, you're in trouble. And the equalness is 60% of women in universities, 40% of men. That's what they want in equalness. In nursing, it's literally, I don't know, 80, 90%. I think it's actually 95% of nurses are women. Nobody complains about that. It's mentioned. Schools, 90%, 85% probably in primary schools, women. Secondary schools, I don't know, 70, 80% are women. Veterinary, it's extraordinary. Yet, electricians, 95 or 98, 96, 98%, I don't know what it is, are male. Plumbers, probably a little bit less now, because I think women are getting into the plumbing side of it as well, with British Gas and a few. Mechanics, God, that must be about 90 odd percent the same thing. 90 in the 90s. All the electrical high powered engineering, again, will be 90% will be men. The sewer system being kept, the water system, will be men. But the problem is, the feminists, the bitchy women, I'm talking about those who who do deeply hate men, are coming out and talking shit. Here we go here. Let's continue with this. After the story was shared on social media. So this is social media now is the judge and jury of society. So anything, if you're now able to gather enough followers on social media, and you can throw it out there. On Twitter, she must have had a few, she must be connected to, say, a few feminist sites, feminist, female sites. Mumnet, all this kind of, yeah, she's going to be on those places. She will be on there. Bang, Twitter goes out. Those Muppets are on their iPhones. iPhone, built and designed by men. What was that British inventor? I can't remember. Anyway, you know, supposedly, I don't know what the percentage of women who use the iPhone. It's quite high, apparently. They're on their iPhones built, well, designed by men anyway, mostly built by men. And they'll be bitching. How dare this young... She's only 7 years old. How dare these bad boys, these nasty boys who refuse to shake her hand. They're misogynists. They hate this girl. She should be allowed to play football in the men's game. Holy sweet Christmas. So, England women asked the Blackpool youngster. They're loving this. This is what they want. They want. So she will be brought out. This will be put on the left-wing media, on the BBC and all ITV and all these kind of nonsense channels that are left-wing leaning. Oh, look at this! Was the girl that was bullied by these awful parents, and also this is the girl that some of these boys would not shake her hand. I fear for these boys. Mr. Trump said the same thing. It's not a good time for young men or to be a male in America today. We're seeing another example here. These young boys will be hunted down. The ones that refuse to touch this girl's hand. How dare you? How dare you not touch this female's hand? This is not the Middle East. You don't do that kind of thing here. You don't dare not touch a woman's hand. What are you, Muslim? Maybe it was. Maybe the team boys that she played were Muslims. Maybe. Yeah. Or maybe they were just ordinary white boys who looked and said, you know what, she should be playing. She shouldn't be here. She should be playing with other girls. Set up your own football team with other girls. Why is it that women don't do that? Why is it that they always expect men to build everything for them, and then they just come in and sit down and feel to take over? Because that's what feminism is about. You see, feminism is aiming for the new world order where they will be leading. All the world leaders in the future is what they're looking for will be women. All the top CEO jobs will be women. This is not about 50-50 bollocks. This is about, you get all women in there, it doesn't matter. That's fine. And what they want is for men to be the donkeys, to keep building, but not for them to be in any positions that a woman, not to be in any positions, but to be building only, to do the donkey work. So in the future, on building sites, they'll want female-only managers. They'll come around and inspect the work, inspect the building that's been installed, inspect the drafts people. The drafts people will probably be women. That's fine, because again, but when it comes to building the properties, only it will be men. Or maybe not. Maybe it will be women again. Maybe women will go in and be women bricklayers and female electricians and female plumbers and female chippies. You know, women can do all that. We know they can do that. I'm not saying they can't. But do they really want to do these jobs? That's the point. You see, you look at the financial, the city. By God, women want to get into that game because there's big money to be made from it. Big money, millions of pounds. So Christ almighty, of course they want to get into this game. And when they're being supposedly locked out, they're not happy about it. Women want a share of the loot. Plain and simple. So she's going to be a mascot when they face Sweden in November. Appearing on BBC 5 Live Breakfast on Friday, Darcy, with a capital D, met former Manchester United captain Michael Crick. Is it Crick? Yeah, whatever it is. Who said her treatment was sad. Oh. For Darcy, with a capital D, to play football and enjoy it, it is fantastic, said Crick, who is now United's assistant manager. Of course he's going to bloody say that. Even if he's thinking in his mind, holy sweet Christmas. I've got no other choice but to say this. Here we go. You shouldn't have to go through things like this. Why not? Why not? Life is not Disneyland. Life is about going through and enduring adversity, getting through that adversity, and then standing up and saying, even though I had all the problems thrown at me in the world, I am still here standing. That's what life is about. It isn't, not yet, a life of pure, unadulterated luxury. Although, to be fair, in this day and age, the working class man now lives a very nice life in comparison to what the working class man lived in 50, 60, 70, even in the 60s. The 60s was harrowing times for a lot of people. There were some people who didn't have indoor plumbing. We didn't have indoor plumbing. Well, when we came here, my father came here in the 60s, we used to bath in the sink. There was a big sink. Or was it next to the sink? I can't remember. Either it was next to the sink or in the sink itself. Because we were young. We were about 7 or 8. And we didn't have a bath. The bath was in the kitchen. And I think we had a big, massive tub. So for my mum and dad. But for us, we could, because the sink was solid sink, with the cast iron legs, and we bathed in there. It is what it is. The toilet was outside at the back, outdoor toilet. Obviously now today everything's all indoors. Central heating. Didn't have central heating. We used kerosene heaters or coal fire. Actually, it was coal fire. The old coal guy would come round and he would pour the coal down the chute by the side of the house. And then Mum would shovel the coal into the bucket to bring into the house when we needed heating for the house. So, boy, did it get cold. Yeah, there was no central heating. If you wanted heating, it was kerosene. That's it. And I'm surprised we're lucky to live the way we are, because the soot from them used to be. But people never thought about it. It was kept you warm, and that was it. Today you've got clean central heating, safe. From gas or oil. But life is. Do we want it back in the 50s and 60s and 70s? No, I'm not saying we should do. But some little bit of hardship is not a bad thing for people. It grounds them for the way ahead in society. Look back at those people that went through Second World War, First World War. Even the middle classes, we live better than the middle classes. I'll tell you that now. We live far better than the middle classes of 100 years ago, than the middle classes of the 60s. You know, we have everything, all the gadgets you can think of. Yet we're still bitching. There was also a message from England women's goalkeeper, Carly Telford, with a capital C, and Darcy, with a capital D, will be the mascot on Sunday for Manchester United women's game against Charlton. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, here we go. This is an opportunity to make themselves famous. Yet these young boys who didn't shake her hand, they're going to be hunted down. There was another story, I think, again, of a mixed football team. Was it in America or Canada? It was, let's say it was America, as usual. A soccer, as they call it in America. And there was a girl who, these were much older. And I think she was about 13, 14, 15, 13, 14, 15. And there was a team of Muslim boys, refused to play because the girl was playing on the team. Because their view is it's supposed to be a boys' team. Holy sweet Christmas. But there's a girl playing on it. What's going on? And they said no, they didn't want to play. So the chucks on the team said, well, if she's not going to play, we're not going to play. Fine. Then it's going to be what would happen if they both got to the finals. Oh, God. I think, I'm sorry, if girls want to play football, that's fine. There's no set your own team up. I don't understand why they feel that they've got to play in the boys' team. Why can't these girls play in their own team with the girls? There was a study done of the American football team, female football team, and they found that they had much higher incidence of injury amongst themselves. I think in the knees and in the ankles, and also in the pelvis area than the male counterparts. And there was also a thing to do with the fact that also that when they landed far differently to that of the men, and they were being taught to actually land in a way that won't injure themselves. So they now have to remember how to land in a different way than what men do, just naturally fall into the ground in a certain way. It's weird. This is all just weird. Are people ready to see a full mixed game of rugby where England are playing against France, 15 aside, 10 men in England, 10. Sorry. How are they going to split it? So you would have what, 7 men and 7 women in the England team. Same thing with France. 7 men, 7 women, or would it be 8 women and 7 men in both teams? Is that what mixed rugby is going to be in the future? This is the. I mean, it's going to be awkward when you're doing full contact sport, men and women. It's going to be awkward. I mean, the only way it will probably work is if the whole of the England male team is gay, and the whole of the England women team are gay, are lesbians. So there wouldn't be any problem with them tackling or mauling or whatever. They're just, it won't be a problem because that's what it's about, really. And the strength difference may not be that huge or different. You know, maybe there will be a mixed England team that will be made up of gay men and gay women, and then you can get, and that will be like across the board in the next 50 years. Some people will be thinking, what the bloody hell are you talking about? It's about contact, and it's about the it's about sexual contact. Because let's face it, a couple of guys playing rugby with a mixed team of women, there's going to be, whether you like it or not, it's going to be true. There's going to be a couple of guys who'll be groping here and there. And this is a thing that people don't talk about. And they don't want to talk about it. But it's a fact. But not just that. There's going to be, the hits are going to be a much harder hits. But if these girls train, and they train hard to take the hits, then fine. But these are things that people are thinking about when they're thinking men and women. No. They've got to be separated. That's what it's about. Part of it's about. Football is not too much of a problem. The contact is basically in sliding and shoulder pushing and all that kind of business. Don't get me wrong. Women will be as skillful as men. With practice, they'll get on that pitch and they'll be kicking the balls into the goals. But the problem is, there was a game, in Australia. The schoolboys, they were 14, 15, played against the Australian women's first team and beat them. Was it 6-0 or 7-0? I think it was 6-0. 6-0. They were beaten. This is the women's playing against 15-year-olds. If they'd have lost by a goal, that's okay. But to lose 6-0, or 7-0, or was it 9-0? I don't know. But it was a score between 6 and 9. You can look it up. It's extraordinary. You see, the thing is, this is just all bullshit to me. It really is. And I'm glad I'm not going to be around in the next 50 years. I'll be, tucked up in my coffin, and I won't have to see all this shit and nonsense that's going to be played out. The blood that's going to be spilt of men's blood, I'm afraid, is going to be unfortunate. Who is this idiot? He looks someone familiar. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, so she's going to be a mascot from this. And here, I think this is the mother. This is the mother saying, she plays with a wonderful group of boys. Of course she does. I mean, those boys she's playing with, probably amongst themselves, quietly in the corner, thinking, oh God, she's in our team. We have no choice but to say, oh, hello, come on, play in the team. I'm not saying that could be the case. It might be the case. They might genuinely say, yeah, great. But are you really telling me that there isn't one boy in there who's thinking she should be playing with a group of girls? This is a boys' team. Because what this says to me is that I think this is an insult to the intelligence of these young boys. It has to be painted. Oh, she plays with a wonderful group of young boys. If she was told, no, sorry, you can't play in this, and the boys excluded her. Do you think that they would be allowed to live? No, not today. No way. They'd be strung up. But every now and then, people do not shake her hand at the end of the match. I'm assuming she's talking about the opposing team. People do not shake her hand at the end of the match. Who's that? Is that the other team, the opposing team? Is it the parents? Are the parents supposed to shake hands with the children when they play the game? Why should they have to shake hands with if they're an opposing team? What's the problem? This is a game. This is what competitiveness is about. If you're not willing to be part of a competitive sport, because you know there's going to be nonsense and issues, because that's what games are about, then don't play these games. Look at the Aussies. They're famous for sledging. It is getting out of hand with them. In the rugby, they do it. The cricket, especially, they've been doing it for years and years and years. But all sports people do it at some point. In rugby, in the malls, and in the especially you'll hear the opponent saying something. You tosser, I'm gonna knock you out. All this kind of business. You'll be hearing a few little words being said, just to get into your head. It's about winning, the desperation to win. This is what Conor tried to do to Khabib, but it failed miserably. It failed miserably for Conor, big time. The word backfire for that match is an understatement. Is an understatement. And I hope there's a rematch on that, because that was a really, really fantastic fight. Anyway, so here we go. The mother's bitching, and she says people do not shake her hand at the end of the match, or there are little comments made. Sarah said, speaking on 5 Live. Occasionally, parents might say something. I get in the car and feel down by it all, but she's so resilient. I'm so proud of her. The point is that this is a society that people still want a certain structure. They want boys to play in the games with boys, and they want girls to play with games with girls. They will, at some point, if it is forced, rather than allowing it to go in a more organic way, because this is where we get things forced consistently. And this is why there's undertones of hostility that come out of it over time. You look at tennis. The women now get the same pay as the men. Yet in the majors, the major tournaments, the men play 5 sets, the women play 3 sets. Wimbledon is the example, but it's not the only one. And yet, why is it that women get the same pay for playing 3 sets at the end of the final? The men play 5 sets. They get the same pay as the women. The men have started to slowly, they kept it quiet, but there was rumblings of it before a year or 2 ago. Djokovic, who's the head of I think the Players Association or whatever, union or whatever it is, had a meeting set up. I think it's somewhere in London, where the top 100 of the men went into they were in a hotel, and they shut the doors to everybody. I was wondering if Andy Murray might have been there, because he seemed to be a massive mangina. But the point was, this was a private meeting amongst the men about their feelings of what they should be getting in pay. I think not only Djokovic has said it, I think Nadal, I think, has said it a couple of times about the men should be getting more than what they're getting at the moment. From the point of view of viewerships, they're getting far more viewerships than the women are. They bring in double than what the money of the women do. Yet generally, if the men put their head above the precipice, the social nonsense, it literally gets whacked at, and they have to duck, go under, back under where they come from. The guy who made the comment that women's tennis should be grateful to the men's game for, hanging off the coattails of the men's game, he retired literally the next day or whenever period of time. And Djokovic supported what he said. A day or 2 days later, he had to issue a massive apology. This is the nonsense that we live in today. The feminist movement is in it is a cancerous movement, as Milo has stated. It is a cancerous movement, and it will destroy the society. You grant my words, it will. Now, this is sometimes grown-ups need to remember it's not the Premier League. This is grassroots, and they are there to have fun. Yeah, amongst themselves, amongst their comrades, amongst male colleagues. They want to have fun amongst themselves. They don't want a girl who they don't feel 100% connected with. What is this? How good is she? Is she scoring the goals? Is she getting that ball and really running down the field and whacking it into the top of that net? Is she? His passing so depth and with such skill and perfection. Is she tackling so well to bring down a guy, a boy of her size or smaller, or whatever? What is she's 7 years of age? What is her skill level? And then we have the ubiquitous feminists come out. Co-founder of Women in Football. Oh, Jesus. Shared Darcy's, with a big D, story initially, really. So she's the one who shared it. She saw this, which the mother had probably obviously tweeted too, and she sees it, and then she spreads it out. I find it sad that some adults cannot treat her with the same respect that these 7-year-olds do. Which 7-year-olds do? Her teammates don't have any bloody choice. They don't have any choice. This is the society we live in. But the other teams that come there are not happy with the situation. And nor should they have to be happy. But this is the way that the people on the left now are expecting you. You have to be happy. Because if you're not happy with what we tell you that you should be expected to be happy with, then we will bring you down with Twitter. So you've got all this nonsense here. I'm not going to read through. It just wants to make me sick. But here we go. Someone wrote here, we can't wait. No time for haters. We only do hashtag. We only do positive. Oh, holy sweet Christmas. And here's the girl here. Oh, how sweet. She's got a little, I don't know what that is, fluffy animal. And she met with the Manchester United, ex-Manchester United captain in the studio. The story has prompted people to share similar stories. So this is part of the Me Too extension of the Me Too nonsense. Here we go. Olympic hockey gold medalist Sam Kwok revealed that she too was excluded from playing football as a child. I played football with the boys for years, but the parents started a campaign and I was banned. My mother had to write to the FA to get it overturned, she tweeted. Who gives a shit? Who cares? It made me want to stick it to the crowd and to raise my game. It also made me less nervous performing in later life in front of hostile crowds. Weirdly. Tell her she's a champ from me. And then we've got a sports broadcaster, Jackie Oakley, spoke about the issue. Embarrassing behaviour. I don't know if she speaks in that way, but anyway. Lads today are more used to girls being into football, and they play, stroke watch as equals. Really? So if you go to a ground where kids are, and there's a group of boys, and they've got a ball, there may be the odd girl who'll come in if she's allowed to get at the ball. But those boys there, you'll see, they're sliding, they're bringing down their mates in tackles, and they want that competitiveness. Boys are massively competitive. Massively competitive. I'm not, it's. I was in Finsbury Park, and I used to go there on a regular basis with my rugby ball, with my nephews, and people used to look at me weirdly because they weren't used to seeing a rugby ball, me kicking it about, and me doing little tricks with it, and I would see people in the park looking out of the corner of their eyes, and just thought, my God, how is he able to do that with the rugby ball? I'm talking about tricks and stuff like that in comparison to with a round ball. And I think it was after the Rugby World Cup 2003, and I was with my nephews. They were 8, no, 4, 4 and 7, and my nephew was speaking, and he couldn't play because he was too. Even he's a big lad now. He's 6'2", 6'3", 14 years of age. But then, and he was big then. He was very heavy to try and pick up. But when they were these kids, because of when England won the Rugby World Cup, it was massive, and these kids saw me with the ball. There must have been about 15 of them, and they wanted to play rugby. And there was just one young boy when we were setting up the teams and picking the teams like you used to, you get a group of kids that pick out. And one young guy came up to me and said, I think he must have been about 9, said, "Sir, I want to play football with my friends." And I said, "Well, you can ask them. They're over there. I'm not stopping them from playing." Yeah, but they said they want to play rugby. I said, "Yeah, exactly." They want to have a go. They want to play rugby and see what it feels like to play the game. So I said, that's it. So we set up this team. I was the ref, and it was after a few minutes of them trying to tackle, they were just piling on top of each other, and I had to literally pull these kids off this pile quickly because they will get injured. So after about a few minutes, I think 5 minutes, I said, right, that's it. No full contact, because they were tackling each other, bringing each other down. They were loving it. They were absolutely loving it. But when you get a pile and they 5 or 6 kids are jump on each other, it's very, very dangerous. So I then had to say, right, we're doing tap rugby only, and show them how to do tap rugby, and they loved it. They were just loving it, So it was 7-a-side, and these kids were loving it. And they played. We got there about 1 o'clock, and we were there till 6. They just wanted to play constantly rugby. That was it. And yeah. So young lads like to play amongst other young lads. It is what it is. embarrassing behaviour. Who? Some of their parents clearly will not change entrenched views. And so this is the point. Again, these parents are setting up their own game of football for their boys, and now they're being told, you've got to change the narrative of the left, of the feminist movement. The feminist movement has spoken. And if you don't listen to them, you're a misogynist. You hate women. Here we have another person, football reporter Michelle Owen, was also amongst those who lent their support to the 7-year-old. As a young girl playing in a boys' team, I got this too, Owen tweeted. The manager would not let me play. I used to travel miles to get 1 minute at the end. Baby, you weren't very good. Come on, we don't know what the circumstances of these girls are. Maybe she was rubbish. She just persisted she wanted to play in this girl's team, their boys' team. Okay, and they let her play, but we don't know. The manager would not play me. He didn't say. He put her on. She went on at the end for 1 minute. If you look at international rugby, sometimes as a guy, he'll go on for literally 5 minutes of the game, 10 minutes of the game to try and change something around. You know, you clearly weren't that important for him to put you on for the full match. The boys didn't. Here we go, and this is the most important bit, ladies and gentlemen, geezers. The boys did not think I should be there, so therefore, look. If the boys didn't think you should be there, what it clearly shows you, you're forcing your way into a sport where people are saying, we only want to play against other boys. We don't want a girl in a team of boys. But if you clearly make or put your view of that, you are a misogynist. You hate women. Why didn't this young girl, if she was that supposedly talented, get a lot of other female girls into the game of football and set up her own team of team of female footballers? She can do that today. She can do that today. Women can gather together and say, let's set up a team for women and we will finance it, and it will be our game for females, for women. Why is it always the men's sports that women seem to always go on into? You look at netball. Netball is exclusively female sport. That no men are playing in it. No men are playing it. Or there might be a few that, manginas who enjoy playing it. From my point of view, it's a poor variant of basketball. But hey, that's a women's game, and they can promote that game. Promote netball. Hockey. Again, I always saw it as exclusively as a female game, and men do play, but I just see it as a female game. Lacrosse, I think, is a female game, although I think originally, if you look at the game lacrosse, which has a little net on the handle of the stick, they do wear helmets, and it is quite a tough, rough sport. So, I wish that was a more popular sport, but it is what it is. It isn't. It is what it is. Many of these sports that we play are not as popular as rugby, as football, as cricket, as Formula One, etc., etc. It is what it is. I just think I really don't like this kind of thing, and I'm really, my personal view is I'm worried for these young men. They will be found out. You can guarantee that. They will be found out. Who are the young boys that refuse to shake this girl's hand? They won't be left to lie. In the meantime, she's now benefiting from this nonsense. I'll tell you this now: if I was a young boy, father of a young boy, and I saw this story, and my son was playing, I'd say, you know, son, I don't want you to. I would be worried about his mental state if he was going to play football against this particular team with this girl in. I wouldn't want him to do it. I wouldn't want him to play, just for his own and safety. And I think I wouldn't be surprised in the future if other parents are saying the game she's playing on, they withdraw their children from playing on that pitch with her. This is not right. This is not right. To bring this out and what she's trying to initially do is put it on the parents. But what it is at the end of the day is these boys who were the opposition, who don't want to shake her hand. That's what really pisses them off more. Is the boys refusing to shake her hand. I think that's the thing that's initially. Yeah, the parents. Of course, the parents' views are this is a boys' game. The girls should be playing with other girls in football. If they're going to have a girls' game, have a girls' football team. Why do you always have to want to come into a boys' game? Stop bringing this. This is political nonsense. This is not right. Anyway, I've said my view. Thanks for listening.